Hello, this is Mark Van Gelder of subvertgov.com, and I wanted to talk about Anonymous for today. And it's not just because I have the Anonymous flag behind me, it's not just because I have my Guy Fawkes mask in my desk, not just because of that, but because I think for once Anonymous has some real shit on the government. Not just because Anonymous claims so, because I take basically what Anonymous says with a grain of salt. Like, they've made promises in the past and they've failed to follow through. But in this case, I think there is some indications that the government is giving us that show that it has actually worked. Okay, Anonymous released a video called Anonymous Operation Last Resort, where it talked about the death of Aaron Swartz. It makes a claim that Anonymous now has access to what they call warheads, which is not like literal warheads, but actually information that they are threatening to release. So, they hacked ussc.gov. Which is let me check this here. Paste. So ussc.gov. Oh. Okay. This is the ussc.gov is the United States Sentencing Commission. Their website. If you check their website as of January 31st, time is 5:46 Mountain Time, you will notice that it says here that the United States Sentencing Commission's website is currently under construction. If you need assistance in the meantime, contact, and there's numbers. For inquiries on the Commission's federal sentencing data and publications, including Commission's report, etc., 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 saying it's basically under construction. Why is it under construction? Well, Anonymous claims that it hacked the United States Sentencing Court. If you go to the website, I just shared this on my Facebook page. So I shared on my Facebook page, www.ussc.gov. Share it, and the default picture that shows up is Nyan Cat. Yeah, that's right, the Pop-Tart kitty with the rainbow fart. So this definitely shows indication that Anonymous has hacked ussc.gov, the United States Sentencing Commission website. I'm sorry, I'm kind of doing things on the fly here, so I'm recording my video while I am sharing and everything like that. So, ussc.gov hacked. Anonymous claims on the 26th of January 2013 that they have done this. This is five fucking days ago, and it still shows that it's under construction. If you share it, the default image still shows up as Nyan Cat 5 days later. So I was driving into work maybe 2-3 days ago, and I hear a story about how Department of Defense is planning on hiring a whole bunch of elite hackers for defensive and offensive purposes. And there's something that seemed like for me, it's like I'm just driving, right? I really haven't kept up on Anonymous in the last couple of days. But there's something that I'm like, why is all of a sudden, like January 31st, like whatever, like why is the federal government suddenly ramping up in the cyber, the cyber war? And I was on a discussion with with a coworker of mine, and he happens to mention Anonymous, and I was like, I haven't been really in contact or watched any Anonymous videos in a few years or in a few months, so sure, I'll take a look and see what's up. So I see this Operation Last Resort claims that USSC.gov got hacked. And this was posted 5 days ago, and 2 days ago I heard about them hiring hackers, saying that they need to do it for defensive purposes. Anonymous claims that they have warheads now. They have information that shows that the United States government is using prosecutorial, like my assumption, because of the United States Sentencing Court website or Sentencing Commission websites being hacked, is that Anonymous has information showing that if you are a political dissident, that the government will not back down. That's my opinion. But Anonymous says that there are certain things that it demands out of the government. Otherwise, it's going to release these warheads and basically bring up, I guess, probably a revolution or something. So, another interesting shit. Oh God, it's so beautiful. So let me see here. Then there's an article saying, this is from Occupy Corporatism. It's the Department of Homeland Security. Says, hackers use sophisticated malware to destroy federal spy networks. I'm going to read you the article. It says, the Department of Defense, the DoD, is expanding its cyber command to focus on defensive measures with an elite fighting force, according to senior Pentagon officials. This is on January 29th, 3 days after the Anonymous attack, or the Anonymous video saying that they have shit. So, 3 types of forces will be created to ensure digital infrastructure. A National Missions Forces unit will secure computer systems used by electrical grids, utility corporations, and nuclear plants. They will oversee national and economic security. Combat Mission Forces will advise overseas military commanders to defensive and offensive attacks, while the Cyber Protection Forces will reinforce the DoD's digital networks. William J. Lynn III, a former Deputy Defense Secretary who aided in the development of the Pentagon's cybersecurity strategy, says, given the malicious actors that are out there and the development of the technology, in my mind there's little doubt that some adversary is going to attempt a significant cyber attack in the United States at some point. The only question is whether we're going to take the necessary steps like this one or deflect the impact of the attack in advance, or read about the steps we should have taken in some post-attack commission report. The Department of Homeland Security, under their Industrial Control Systems Cyber Emergency Response Team, which is known as ICS-CERT, has issued an alert to collaborating corporations that hackers are using sophisticated software to decipher passwords in their security competent, referred to as the brute force password tool. DHS claims that with the use of Flame and Stuxnet, these 2 viruses have fallen into the hands of cyber criminals who are using malware for their own personal gain. The threat extends from federal agencies to private sector corporations to civilian agencies that are now vulnerable for becoming threats to nameless, faceless hackers. Let's pause right there at the end of that paragraph. Flame and Stuxnet. Now it is an open secret that Flame and Stuxnet were both created by the United States government to destroy infrastructure and to spy on people. So I find it funny that the federal government, which had built self-destruct codes into these viruses, the federal government lost track of a few of these, and they got a hold of the source code and are now using it against the government. So good on you, hackers. So Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the DHS, spoke at a think tank last week asserting that a cyber 9/11 was around the corner that would cripple U.S. infrastructure by taking down the power grid, water treatment plants, and nuclear facilities, as well as transportation networks and financial institutions. Let me pause there and say that Anonymous has released a video because the National Security Agency last year released the same kind of threat, and Anonymous responded saying that they would never do something like that because if they were to shut down the power grid, it would cripple hospitals, and they don't want anybody to die. 2, it would take down the internet, which Anonymous needs in order to physically conduct its attacks, or its not attacks but operations. And 3, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just, why would they do it? I mean, it doesn't serve any purpose other than pissing people off. And Anonymous is not in the business of pissing people off. It's in the business of winning hearts and minds. So it does, like, all three of those issues just don't make any sense. Okay. Napolitano said, "We shouldn't wait until there is a 9/11 in the cyber world. There are things we can and should be doing right now that, if not prevent, would mitigate the extent of damage. The damage caused by this coming cyber attack would be as devastating as Hurricane Sandy," claimed Napolitano. Okay, now let's pause there. I think Hurricane Sandy was actually caused by HAARP, but HAARP. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. She asserted, "The clarion call is here, and we need to be dealing with this very urgently. Attacks are coming all the time. They're coming from different sources, they take different forms, but they are increasing in seriousness and sophistication. That's because hackers are fucking amazing. And they are going to find your secrets, and you are not going to be able to defend yourself from them. No matter how sophisticated you are, none of us are as cruel as all of us." The 2013 budget for Department of Homeland Security has as its top priority the issue of cybersecurity, with 74% of the funds being directed to securing the homeland. You know, this whole idea of homeland security is, it's a joke. The fucking Nazis did it. You know, they called it fatherland security. We just have a nice ring to it by calling it homeland security. But, so 74% of the funds being directed to securing the homeland. This equals $850 million from administrative duties to support cybersecurity as the most important operational necessity. Napolitano explains that we will have suffered a major infiltration or attack, and we will find some part of our critical infrastructure with a gap because the industry was not doing enough to protect itself on its own. What we know now is already enough to go ahead, and we should be moving forward. Department of Homeland Security will be deploying Einstein 3, a federal network monitoring system that detects and prevents attack for the U.S. Computer Emergency Readiness Team, CERT. Congress has approved $182 million in funding for the Department of Homeland Security Continuous Diagnostics and Mitigation Program, CDM, that will allow for the installation of sensors and cables to monitor threats to the IT systems throughout the U.S. government. Department of Homeland Security will have access to continuous monitoring system that offers real-time scans of federal threats and reinforces the U.S. government's cloud computing framework, according to a leaked version of Obama's cybersecurity executive order. Now here's the fucked up part. Okay, there is a compromise by the administration offered to those concerned about Big Brother controls invading U.S. citizens' privacy on the web. One concession outlined is the sharing of internet traffic information by the U.S. government and private sector corporations involving critical infrastructure and electrical grid, which means basically for stuff that is part of the infrastructure electrical grid, they're going to share that, right? That's all they're going to share. And it says here specifically, social media companies would not be held under the same mandate, which means that any operations that the government performs for cyber security, right, any of those operations would be, by definition, exempted from any kind of civilian oversight. And I've talked in the past about the Kubefaced virus and my suspicion that that is a government operation. And so social media companies, of course, the operations that the government does, the spying operations it does on people, will not be subject to civilian oversight. Okay. God, it just pisses me off. But let's continue. The DHS. Hell, here's a great paragraph. The DHS, specifically Napolitano, who's the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, will be given the sole power of oversight, which means one agency will be given the power of oversight over this whole entire system, and it's specifically one person who will be given oversight of this whole banana. And this one person happens to be Janet Napolitano. Janet Napolitano has given an interview with NPR a few months back. I listened to NPR on the trip to and from work. I heard her talking to NPR, and they talked about why she doesn't have an email account, and she doesn't consider herself a Luddite. You know, she's not opposed to technology. The reason why I think she doesn't have an email account is because, per federal law, all emails that are conducted by government officials cannot be destroyed, and they must be available for review by different agencies. So, with her not having an email account, any transaction that she does is done on probably pencil and paper, which means it can be easily destroyed. And that's why this shit scares the fucking shit out of me. So, the DHS, specifically Napolitano, will be given the sole power of oversight, rather than Keith Alexander, director of the National Security Agency. Now, I have my own issues with the National Security Agency, which I consider just as bad as the Department of Homeland Security. But at least if you have two agencies in charge of oversight, that minimizes the chance of corruption. It says, Napolitano will be empowered to reference top secret intelligence reports only known to her to basis identification to cyber threats and individual targets, which means that she will have exclusive access to specific top secret information. Like, there'll be nobody else that can see this top secret information that she's going to use to monitor the internet. This is the smoking gun right here. You know, if people don't wake up and see what the fuck is going on, I really have no faith for humanity. So, let's continue. Mark Weatherford, policymaker for DHS, maintains that the CDM will reduce IT vulnerabilities. This program brings together the NSA, the Department of Energy, and the Office of Cybersecurity and Communications, the OCC, to defend U.S. digital infrastructure. In March of 2012, members of the Senate met behind closed doors to attend a briefing by Department of Homeland Security, where a staged cyber attack was performed with the intent to provide all senators with the appreciation for new legislative authorities that would help the U.S. government prevent and more quickly respond to cyber attacks. The focus of the attacks were U.S. banks, power grids, and telecommunication systems. However, these systems are not connected to the internet, and therefore the argument is moot. In fact, the power grid and public water systems are rarely connected directly to the public internet, and this makes gaining access to grid-controlling networks a challenge for all but the most dedicated, motivated, and skilled nation-states, in other words. And that's the end of the article. So long story short, the government is preparing for a new cybersecurity system. My guess is because they had information released, and so now they've got to fucking realize that you've got tens of thousands of hackers that are out there trying to get access to your information. Eventually, one's going to get through, and no information system is totally attack-proof. There are always vulnerabilities, and you need to realize that you can't protect yourselves from us, Department of Homeland Security. You can't do it. I'm not a hacker. I don't know the first thing about hacking. But I do know that even the most secure system has some vulnerability, and we will find it. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, we're going to find it. We're going to get your information. And if you don't stop fucking with us, if you don't stop fucking with the American people, we are going to release that shit. There. We are anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.